Hello and welcome to H.A.R.D, where we once again discuss a comic that includes the origin to our podcast name. I'm Humphrey Erm, and with me as always is Christian Claus.
Hello!
And with that, Lifeline. Give me Bloodshot Volume 4. Hardcore. Well, Chris, would you agree with me that this is definitely the best Bloodshot volume for now?
Best Bloodshot. Yeah, I'll give that to you. Sure.
And personally, for me, it's one of my favorite in the entire Valiant universe.
Okay. I mean, sorry, I'm a little bit sick, but I'll try to pull through. Yeah, again, I haven't. I mean, obviously, I have different opinions to you about what's better and stuff like that, but really, this is like your favorite of all time?
This, honestly, if they could have just followed this forever, I'd be satisfied.
What do you mean, follow this forever?
Like, if they just kept this sort of setup, and just, had a lot of adventures with it, I'd be very satisfied. This, to me, is a Saturday morning cartoon that I just want to watch all the time.
Right, so basically like a Bloodshot and hardcore kind of as a group or what?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, to me, this is the G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers thing that I wake up to watch on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I did get that when I was reading it. I did. It was fun. It was definitely more fun than a lot of the other comics that we've read. But again, it didn't hit any of my history nerves or anything like that. So
definitely
I wasn't too excited about it. I mean, it was more military, and I'm not really too much of a fan of like military kind of stuff, except for if it's classical military, with legions of armies and Roman armies, that kind of stuff. But with this, just felt very, I don't know. I did notice there was a lot of text in this. There's a lot of explanation in here, and especially because I was kind of rushing reading this one because I kind of got a little bit late with my whole reading it. I remember I looked at one of the first pages and I was like, oh God, this is a lot of text. There's just all this exposition and the typical kind of tough guy talk, like, where they're just like, yeah, well, I have a secret thing and I like this and I fight for this and that kind of stuff, where they were just kind of trying to be bigger, cool guys than the other.
Well, again, to me, this also, obviously they wouldn't start with this, with the Bloodshot movie. It would probably be an amalgamation of the first two volumes.
Yeah.
But, like, to me, this is kind of what shows that it works as a, action film. I mean, the whole setup there with Palmer, a.k.a. Gunslinger. I mean, that is that whole, as you joked about during Harbinger Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was the whole, so I'm retired. So the country needs
you for one more mission, man.
Exactly.
All right, fine. Yeah.
And it's that kind of stuff.
I just love these lines. It's like, we had a deal. And all these kind of like, you unbelievable bastard. It's just, I don't know. These kind of things you can just see, like, who would play him?
Exactly.
I'm about to say something like Tom Cruise, but I think he's too old for that now. Or actually, Tom Cruise would probably work.
No, but that's what works. I mean, this is also. I mean, this is also one I'd definitely like us to read. As I said, they have these like master volumes of the original series.
Yeah.
So, which I think gives a good bite size sort of what it was like. And honestly, I think that this one is one I'd like for us to read because, while this concept's the same, with the whole like lifeline and all that stuff, it's very clear that they're very different characters. They're these old guys. They're basically Vietnam vets.
Yeah. And
like everyone, again, none of them are these, fancy kind of young people. It's all, again, not geezers either, but they're kind of like, not about as I was watching, listening to Valiant Efforts podcast. So the guy who had read the original series always mentioned that it was the Dad comic. Because again, it was
This one.
yeah, again, not this one, but the original series from the 90s. So
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
I
it was
assume
the
so.
dad comic. As again, hey, look, it's someone my age. It's kind of like people in their 40s, 50s. So, and again, sort of a lot more sort of like dad mentality, not in terms of like
Okay.
being like parents, but just the whole there's that thing that happens to men at some point. I don't know how to describe it, but once you hit a certain age, you kind of become a dad regardless of children.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe that's my opinion there, but
Maybe.
but that alone gave hardcore a very different feel. Like consider like Marvel and DC. Sure, DC has Wildcat, who's supposed to be like an old kind of guy, but like there really isn't so much of like an old person. Like truly.
Well,
old.
you got Nick Fury and Captain America.
Yeah, but Cap doesn't count.
I know you're not. That's not what you meant, but I'm just kind of joking. But Nick Fury definitely. I mean, this guy basically looks like Nick Fury.
That's okay. That would be one character then. But again, here's like a whole team of basically like retired war vets now with superpowers doing things, and I don't know. I just felt that alone helped carry the book.
You're saying retired war vets, but wait, are you talking about the original one, or are you talking about this one?
Original.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, wait, they're not like retired war vets. I mean, one of them is a war vet, but
well, yeah, gunslinger and maniac.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, yeah, that was just some little backstory with it. I just like really liked the concept. It's also I was recently at a LAN party, and we were.
Oh, really? I didn't notice when you were gone for 4 frickin' days.
Oh yeah, man, I'm still recovering.
Yeah, and I missed you.
Yeah.
You know how lonely it was on Sunday night, sitting here alone and not knowing what to do with myself because you weren't online?
Yeah.
And you just texted me stuff about like, oh, we're just playing GTA 5 now. Oh, you can't join us. Sorry, you don't have a Windows computer. So sad for you.
So yeah, no, but just I came to thinking because I read this one before I went to the LAN party, and we were playing this game called Splinter Cell. Not Splinter Cell at all. Tom Clancy's
Rainbow Six.
Yes, Rainbow Six Siege. And it just got me thinking that hardcore would make for such a great game. Like have each team, sort of maybe simplify it so you don't have all the abilities, but you kind of choose a loadout before each match.
Yeah. Okay.
So okay, shields, flight, but that's all you got. So you won't have invincibility to move things or break through walls. You all have the same guns, but that still will depend on your ability to aim. But then as long as all people in the group have chosen a good combo and know how to use them, they can all kind of work around themselves. I don't know, I just feel like the concept set out there with one power at a time, promoting teamwork, it's like, it's genius.
Right. But I think we talked about this last time as well during Harbinger Wars. We talked about how the hardcore would make a great video game just with that whole system that we had.
No, you're right, we did, so it is a bit of a repeat here, but it was a while ago, and here we get to see a lot more of it. But let's discuss the plot itself then.
All right.
So, any thought on like Bloodshot being freed kind of quickly? It just kind of feels like, Harbinger Wars ends, he's captured by H.A.R.D, and okay, 2 issues and he's saved.
Yeah, but I think it's good because they got what they wanted from him. It would have just been unnecessary to prolong that. I mean, obviously you could have this whole kind of drama, like forced drama about him being in there and being tortured by H.A.R.D and a constant thing like, tell me what you know. No, I'll never tell you what you know. Oh, we have ways to make you tell. I will still never tell. You can go back and forth like this for issues and issues and issues. But what I like is that you can really push through and you can say, no, we're gonna rescue him quickly so we can get on with the story. We can get on to the cool stuff. I mean, this would not have been your favorite volume if they had done that.
You're right.
Because then it would have just been like 4 or 5 issues of Bloodshot being captured, and then at the end of that 4th issue, having them rescue him. So that's why I think it is much better the way they did it here. They kept the speed up, just like with the old comics where so much happened within one issue.
No, that's definitely one of the reasons I liked it too. So while it still kind of feels, connected and self-contained,
Yeah.
It did have a lot more things happening. Because you're right, it could have been the whole volume of them saving him. And in a way, they kind of are, in terms of trying to get the nanites back. So, they're saving a part of him again. But, yeah, you're right. A lot more stuff is happening in it, and that's what I really like. So I want things happening in my, books. I want to wait that whole month just for it to be like... Actually, mangas are like a terrible, a great example of that. It's just one long fight.
They appear weekly. Yeah, but at least they appear weekly.
Exactly, but that's the whole thing. They're just like, oh, god damn it. Okay, yeah, we get it, Ichigo. You've got a bigger sword now. Bleach.
Yeah, I know. No, but I mean, but isn't that the good thing is that you're kind of, because we read basically 4 or 5 months of comics in one sitting basically right now.
Yep.
So, think about it. If they were just pushing along this whole Bloodshot being captured thing for 5 months, like almost half a year of Bloodshot being captured, that was so boring. I mean, why do you want to read a Bloodshot book? I mean, again, I know he's kind of, it's half Bloodshot, half hardcore, but why would you want to read a Bloodshot book where he's just constantly captured? You want to see him do stuff. You want to see him kill people. You want to see him fighting, this kind of stuff.
No, you're right. Yeah. I retract my statement.
Yeah, you want to see him do really cheesy things and give really, really cheesy lines, like that stupid thing.
I said I couldn't stand.
Yeah, I couldn't stand. I could still kill, or whatever it was. It's just,
that was it.
God, that was... I cringed so hard.
I cringed delightfully. Because it's so obvious it's supposed to be, I feel. Like the whole setup, the characters. Like it's like very self-aware, especially just with all the complaints about Kozol. So, because he's just such a bastard, but such a level bastard.
Yeah, I love it. It was like, what was that line? At least he knows he's an asshole, or he knows that he's a dick. Not like H.A.R.D, who thinks he's Jesus.
Yeah, no, I actually wrote that down as a separate point, and since you brought it up, let's discuss it. Do you agree with that? So, in terms of obviously, they're saying that both are terrible.
Yeah.
So, but at least it's implying then that Kozol has a conscience that he's ignoring. Like, he knows what he's doing is wrong, but he does it anyways. So he knows that's why he's trying to, like, hide it and keep it. It's trying to, like, trick people, basically. While H.A.R.D thinks he has the moral high ground. He's the Jesus. And that's, he does all these things. I mean, they kind of bring up a point in the first issue where H.A.R.D mentions, we don't torture people. And they're like, oh, it was necessary. Oh, all right then, as long as it's necessary.
Right. And, I mean, I think I personally like it. I mean, I like people who, in that sense, aren't hypocrites. I mean, if you're an asshole, then, own that shit. I mean, because, if you feel, if you're an asshole and you're comfortable with being an asshole, then, well, yeah, you're an asshole, but you shouldn't expect people to like you, and, or, I'm just talking about not within this comic, but just like in real life, and I think also if you realize that you're an asshole and you don't like being an asshole, then you change. But if you're an asshole and you think you're like the best person in the world, that's a problem, because then you're constantly walking around putting the blame on other people, like, nice guys, for example. No, but that's one of those things, and this is like with here. So I definitely like, I definitely don't like H.A.R.D, just because he thinks he's doing good, but he's doing it in the wrong way, and he's so easily swayed, like you saw with that whole torture thing. I mean, a real person who thinks he'd be doing good for humanity, he'd be like, well, let's try to get to the same place without torture then. If he was really trying to be doing the good for humanity, but basically he's trying to do the good for humanity no matter what the cost. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure I remember what Hardcore's objective is.
Well, what's called?
Like, I know what it is in this comic, but I don't know what it is on the whole world because, of course, you know, Harada is trying to use Psiot powers. He's basically like the Xavier of Valiant, where he just has all these basically mutants, these Psiots, together to teach them their powers. But he then also uses it to what he thinks is better the world, like, you know, treating cancer and stuff like that, learning ways. Yeah. But what's Hardcore's thing?
Well, I mean, let's actually, you know, look at the letters. Harbinger Active Resistance Division.
Oh, okay.
So that's
what HARD stands for?
Yeah. So there.
What does it stand for in our podcast?
So we'll have
Humphrey and
Risto.
Nah, okay, we'll have to think about this.
You know,
Humphrey and Risto, yeah.
Or we'll do those, you know, those cheating ones.
Humphrey and Risto discuss.
Yes.
There
we go.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Risto is the Finnish version of Christian, so that would be like my Finnish name if my mother and father had given me a Finnish name. You know, the same name, but in the Finnish version. Anyway, so... all right.
So, see, I agree with you in that sense, but then I also...
So they're basically just there to stop the Harbingers.
Yeah, that's what their whole setup is about.
So they're basically saying that the good or the bad things that Harada is doing outweigh the good he's doing for the humanity.
Yes.
Okay, so they're basically like, these Psiots need to be controlled, they need to be killed because they pose a threat to the world.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, it's not so much all just kill either. I mean, remember, they had them like all locked up as well, all those children. So, you know, so they want to use them to get powers and then... because that's how they get all those powers for Lifeline. So, and I believe...
Exactly.
And as what's called Palmer said, most of them die in the process.
Right. But again, this is like the weird thing where I can't root for either of them.
That's a very common thing in Valiant, I'm noticing, you know, especially with you. So like none of them are like...
Yeah, but I mean, I have to say Hardcore is much cooler. Because for one reason, I could become a member of Hardcore. But you know what I mean? Because there's like this thing where I'm looking at them in the suits and stuff like that. I'm like, they even have a mentally disabled person and a person who is a drunk. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, if they can do it, then I can do it too. But like, you know what I mean? It's kind of this like wish fulfillment thing. Like, yeah, I could be like in a cool team and I could run around and jump off of buildings and call Lifeline, give me flight, and then just be able to fly. I mean, how cool would that be?
So, well, that's what I mean. You know, it's such a pity they never tried to push this more like in the 90s. I mean, remember, the 90s had all these like cartoons. You know, you had the X-Men cartoon, you know, all these superhero cartoons. If they had just pushed this, I'm sure, you know, Hardcore would have been a household name.
Yeah.
No, think about it. I mean, this is like imagine as a kid playing Hardcore.
Yeah.
I mean, so dare. I mean, you know, poor kid who has to play Lifeline.
Yeah.
Hey, Lifeline. Yeah. So can't I join? No, you're Lifeline. You got to sit there and, you know, give us the powers. Okay.
Oh man, it would be one of those typical things of like, I shoot you with my laser. Well, I have laser resistance shield. Oh yeah, well my laser is a laser resistance shield destroyer. Oh yeah, well my laser resistance shield has the laser resistance destroyer.
Oh,
you're basically constantly doing that back and forth, and it's just like, oh yeah, well I have the bee sting, and it's like, no.
We're gonna discuss that later too, but yeah.
Okay.
But see, for me though, the thing is, for me, a point that makes me favor Harada more, because again, you know, Harada's awful.
Traitor.
Again, Harada's awful, you know, but I'm just thinking when he's, you know, experimenting and researching the nanites, you know, just the way he points out, like, think about the medical applications to all this, and you know, PRS could only think about weaponizing it. And that's the thing there, you know, what's he doing, you know, before they're getting attacked? He's working on a medical machine. You know, something that can take care of people, not just, you know, take them to the hospital, but actually in wars and disaster areas, actually cure them.
Right.
And that's what I mean. Like, he's a real dick about it. You know, it's like those people who are really good at things, and well, it's kind of like the in South Park, the Bono episode.
Right.
So Harada's kind of like this. This he does all these great things, but he's still this piece of shit.
Right.
And that's the thing, I feel like, and this is kind of similar to like with when Death Note was running. You'd have people who would kind of like be anti-Light and like pro-Light or like pro-Kira.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because people pointing out that, well, it's only killing the bad people, and the world is, as they say themselves in the manga, violent crimes have dropped like to near non-existence.
Right, but that's the thing. He was also just focusing on, killing criminals. So people where people could say, well, they deserved it.
Exactly, and that's the kind of thing. Again, not the same thing here with Harada, but he actually is. Doing things. It's one of the reasons why why I'm like all for killing the Joker, because he just doesn't provide any, he's like just awful.
Right.
But Luthor, who also has a high kill count and has done many despicable things, has also done so many good things. Sure, it's just to piss off Superman, but curing cancer. It's like that old imaginary comic.
Right.
He cures cancer.
Cured cancer. Yeah.
Yes, to get Superman. Let's go the guard down. That's how evil he is. I love it. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I find Luthor being kind of like a Harada kind of character, but
well, it's kind of like the well, like we said, I think in like one of the Harbinger episodes that we did about just that Harada is one of those where the means justify
the ends.
The
ends justify the means.
Right, the ends justify the means. Yeah. But yeah, one of those things where he does a lot of good, but he does bad things to get there, and yeah, I mean, but that's what I mean is that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes this comic interesting. That's what makes this universe interesting. That you have so many bad people do so many good things, and yeah, that's why I'm talking to you now about this. That's why we're discussing it, because I can't say that hardcore is the best and they should be the ones who win, because Harada's doing some good stuff too, and and I don't know, but he does but basically Harada does also make weapons. I mean, he's not teaching his children or his Sayat children to be pacifists.
Oh no, definitely not. I mean?
So basically, that his whole jab at PMS, right? Not PMS, PRS.
That'll be for the Valiant parody.
It's PRS, right?
Yes, but I kind of like that.
Okay. Well, so PRS, his jab at PRS was also kind of stupid, because like, oh, look at all this healing ability, and they make a weapon out of it. It's like, well, look at all your Sayat children that you've made into weapons, and even that nano machine that the machine that he made, the medical machine.
Oh yeah, that takes on.
Yeah, the first thing it does, it tries to kill people, or it uses people to make itself better. So he's not this all-knowing savior or whatever who's going to save mankind. He's just as flawed and makes weapons and kills people and stuff like that. So it's just, this is why it's so interesting. You don't have any good guys in this thing.
So
everyone's flawed. Everyone's three-dimensional, and it's beautiful. I love this universe.
Not exactly.
Fuck you, Humphrey. Fuck you.
No, but
you made me. No, it's the same thing every goddamn time. You show it took. What was it now? 19 episodes.
Yeah, it took a while this time. Usually it's just one thing and like bam.
Yeah, 19 episodes, and I am actively excited about the Valiant universe.
Yeah, well,
like so much so that I'm kind of planning stuff for our future, like stuff that we need to review, stuff that we need to still do. Like, I hate you, Humphrey. I hate you.
So, well, who knows? Maybe we can get more episodes done, but because you'll want to read it further.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're continuing this until the end, man. We're going to do special episodes. I'll tell you everything after the episode's over.
So, yeah, but either way. So that's, but as a bit of a flash forward kind of thing, this whole discussion we had, it's brought up in a much later volume, which features Harada. And it basically has kind of I wouldn't say a crisis of faith, but basically it's kind of like an internal debate about his actions.
Oh, cool. I love those things.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, it's very interesting because actually now that I'm thinking about it, it's almost a bit of a what's called Christmas Carol setup. So
Like he has the three.
not three, only
three ghosts.
one in this case, but he does kind of show him at different points in time. See, Harada, this was when you were young. You know, you weren't a murderous psychopath then. Then bomb fell. So, anyways.
Record scratch. Yes, that's me. You might be wondering how I got into the situation.
All right. So, but yeah, let's see. So we got that discussion out of the way in a sense. Well, since you mentioned it earlier, we might as well discuss this too now. The bee stings.
Right.
Again, this is one of those setups where, again, this isn't like, you know, like super far into, you know, after years of publishing. But this is one of those things where I like where two different concepts of a superhero universe get together and they actually think of things that connect them and, you know, something cool new comes out of it. And in this case, you know, okay, what about if we give Bloodshot, you know, psionic powers?
Right.
And then the things involved are like, as they mentioned, that his body would eventually reject the implant because, you know, it sees it as a foreign, so it's temporary, which is great, you know, otherwise it's not.
Yes, I was about to say that. Like, I love that it was temporary because then he would have made Bloodshot too OP.
Exactly, and you know, it makes sense within the world, like within his powers.
Right, and I love when they just explain stuff like that.
Well, again, when it clicks, it's just great when in a superhero comic where, like, especially if they're, again, these aren't super unrelated, and like I said, this was a modern universe made, so they probably had this thought out a while ago. But it's these kinds of things that are, well, it's just very nice to see because it's when different writers get together and like, oh yeah, this is cool, like it's combining, it's like poetry. But the thing with the bee sting that I liked as well, because have you ever heard of this idea of necessary secondary powers?
No.
It's a concept that's brought up with a lot of like superhero characters who have like their one power, but then there's an implication that they must have other powers as well. And they kind of imply that here because the Lifeline mentioned that who's getting the bee stings ones? You know what they're called, bee stings, right? You can only use them once and you die. And, you know, then the idea is, well, let's give them to Bloodshot since he can't really die.
Right.
And the thing was, it was so genius what was happening there. He was having these powers without the secondary powers. Like when he had his super speed. You know, after he was finished, he lay there, you know, his skin's, you know, the friction, air friction, having torn off skin from him because, you know, he ran so fast.
Yeah.
And that's something that's implied with the Flash, for example. I mean, you know, now, of course, there's like more to his powers than just that he runs fast. You know, but still the whole idea then that he has to have some kind of invulnerability to, you know, running so fast.
Right. Okay, that's what you mean. Yeah, now I understand it. Yeah.
That's why if a human did it, you know, if a human used that, he'd die from doing it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the whole thing about, like, I mean, that's why they usually add, like, you know, super strength to every superhero.
Exactly. Or like vulnerability or resistant.
Right, so that they can do this kind of stuff. Because they do that with Superman as well. Everyone was like, well, if he would fly at that speed with normal human skin, it would rip off and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and that's what you meant with secondary powers. Okay, I understand, yeah.
Exactly. And the same thing, he had like these radiation powers, which like, oh yeah, true, you'd probably get cancer from doing that if you were, you know, couldn't heal yourself.
Right, and also his fingers were burning up, so.
Exactly. So again, it's just one of those things where I'd be like, yes, you know, it's, yes, a good use of the established, you know, canon and details. And it just, I don't know, I just like it when, I love it when a plan comes together.
Exactly. It's really good, yeah. I really like it.
Yeah, it's all right. I guess this wasn't much of a discussion, just me geeking out there.
No, but again, it's good because this is, I mean, I can't really say anything to it except for, yup, that's good. But I mean, it just shows that, you know, comic book writers or artists or whoever came up with it, you know, are thinking about it now more. I mean, that was the great thing. Like, I think Stan Lee was the one who said, like as advice for comic book writers, like, know enough about science to play around with it. And this is the kind of stuff that you need to know. This is the kind of stuff that, like, in classic cartoons, no one even thought about. No one was like, all right, how are we going to explain that Captain America can throw his shield and bounce it off of stuff and then catch it again?
He's just that awesome.
Yeah, well, that's always the thing. And, like, no one ever thought about, like, well, if Superman flies at this type of speed, wouldn't, like, his neck hurt or, that kind of stuff? And it's, well, he has super strength. Like, okay. And then, again, I'm pretty sure the Flash was one of the biggest things. Like, well, if he's running at that kind of speed, what happens to the friction and the air resistance and stuff like that? And I love it because then you have to have like a working knowledge of a lot of scientific principles to be able to write this kind of universe where, where this kind of stuff happens. And I just love that idea that you have to really think about it more, and that people are thinking about it more, so that there are like it's kind of like an in before kind of thing. Before all the fans start ripping into you because you did something wrong, you just go like, no, we explained it because he has super strength, or he has the secondary superpower. Well, I like that. I really like that.
Well, it's like that book I have, this Physics of Superheroes.
Yeah, right.
So I like, because the whole setup there, and like the whole point of that book is, okay, we have this thing called the miracle exemption. We'll assume, we know that no one can, from what we know about science, we know no one can suddenly get magnet powers or whatnot. But if we did have someone with magnet powers, then would it work? The things he does in the comic. So it's kind of like the Big Bang Theory too, that early episode. So, but they're talking about the Superman movie.
Yeah.
So the whole thing about, that scene is filled with what's called scientific inaccuracies, right? Yeah, I know, people can't really fly. No, let's assume they can.
Right. And I love that discussion point when, like, under Nerds, where you're just like, no, let's assume that he can fly.
Yeah,
and here's how things would go wrong.
Exactly,
the big thing we understand. What's that? Oh, shit, I always forget what the name is of that. The, what is that called in fiction when you just assume...
suspension of disbelief?
Yeah, suspension of disbelief. I always forget that term. It's really annoying. But yeah, it's this suspension of disbelief. And that's what I love about it, is that at the beginning, you're given rules. You're said, okay, this is the world you know. However, there is a guy who can fly and has superpowers and is called Superman.
He can do.
So then we're saying, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, we're saying, all right, we get this. These are the rules. Now don't break them with what we know. And obviously, that's the whole thing where when real scientists then look at superhero movies and then they like nitpick things and then take them apart and they're like, okay, this couldn't actually happen. This is not how radium and uranium, work and stuff like that.
There's no evidence that gamma should turn you into a giant monster.
Exactly. But that's the thing. Like, we just need to know the rules. And as a layman who then like watches these things, we need to have this point, like someone has to say to us, okay, if we have gamma radiation, it's going to make us into a big monster. And we're like, okay, I understand that. But then you can't change that up later. And I think that's the point where then if something happens, like where Superman catches Lois Lane and brings her velocity from, terminal velocity to 0 within a second, a lot of people are going to be like, wait a minute, that doesn't work. I know from my rudimentary science that if you do that, bones will break, people will die. Gwen Stacy, that kind of stuff. Is that's what's happening there. So as long as you can suspend the disbelief, then you're fine. And so far, this comic's been doing it very well.
Oh, definitely. It also has, I recently reread a little post on Tumblr that was referring to how, like, every kind of like science fiction story or like fantasy story needs its flux capacitor.
Exactly.
Because it's, because you'll have these other explanations in there, but then you'll have this MacGuffin magical little thing that, takes care of all the behind the scenes stuff. Like, yeah, I invented this thing, and then with, I believe it was plutonium that powered it.
Yes.
Then
or was it uranium?
Nothing was
uranium.
Plutonium. Was it? Well, either way.
Yeah.
So, radioactive material. But that kind of stuff there, then you have these things that are like, okay, well, that makes sense. We know that this stuff is used as an energy source, so that makes sense. Then little things about the whole how fast you have to go for it to work, it's like, whatever. It's, but that's the kind of thing, okay, so the flux capacitor does it. And it reminds me of another quote. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, people, but I believe it was Grant Morrison that...
Dude, we don't have a comment section.
Shut up, Chris. I'm trying to get people to comment.
Write it to Humphrey at Humphrey_Erm on Twitter.
No, but I believe it was Grant Morrison who said something about adults ask the stupidest questions with comics. So they'll ask things like, who pumps up the tires of the Batmobile? So, or things like that. Like, you idiot. What? Nobody does. So it's not important.
Exactly.
Again, it is just, I think that was what he mentioned. I think he has some other examples too. But it's like, he says kids, they know what's important. So they ignore all that, unnecessary stuff. They focus on the big picture, ironically, in a sense. Because they know It's not important about how this thing worked or how that thing worked. And again, though in that case, I'd imagine it's Alfred, but yeah.
Yeah, but still, it's just like those kind of things where it's those things that are not important to the story. I mean, that's something that you teach in filmmaking as well, is that we do not need to see the person get out of bed, brush their teeth, eat breakfast, open the door, close the door, lock the door, walk downstairs, go to their car, open the car door, close the car door, or get in and close the car door, drive to work, get out of work, lock the doors of the car, go up the stairs, get to work, sit down at the desk. All you can do is see them wake up in the morning, slam their alarm clock, and have them walking into their office. It's kind of like that thing, you just assume that things happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the same thing people are always asking, like, when do superheroes go to the bathroom? It's like they just go to the bathroom, okay? They don't. They're humans, or if they're not humans, but they excrete waste in some sense at a normal time, like everyone else does. But it's not part of the story, or if it's not part of the story, you're not going to show it.
Oh, well, exactly.
And that's what I mean, is that if it's not part of the story of who pumps up the gas tires of the Batmobile, then you don't have to tell it. However, I just thought of a really cool thing, a really cool idea that came from it, because sometimes these questions bring up interesting ideas. Like the question, who actually makes all the suits for the superheroes?
Well, it depends.
Because, that's what I mean, is that was a question that was posed at some point, because either every superhero also has their secondary superhero power of being a good, clothes maker or suit maker or whatever. But then I think it was it DC who then created actually a character who was the tailor to the...
Oh, that I don't know. There's a
superheroes?
fan comic, a really good fan comic that plays with it. Specifically.
Was it a fan comic then?
Well, is it this sort of more cartoony style with this like?
I think so.
Yeah, it's kind of like this little
Batman.
Yeah, exactly. It's this little portly
Oh shit,
man.
that was a fan comic then. Yeah,
It's a really good fan comic.
It's a really good comic. Yeah.
But they're actually, and Marvel has a canon one. So I was rereading the original Civil War after. I don't know, do I get the cool guy points if I diss on Civil War 2? Yeah, I think I do. I think I do.
Not from me, because I have no horse in that race, so you're still just a nerd to me, Humphrey.
Yeah, okay. Now, either way, I was rereading Civil War, Civil War 1. And they had this whole side story with this character called Speedball, who lost his powers, but then he got them back, but different. And there's this scene where he's ordered a new suit, a new super suit. He's burning his old stuff, and then this guy comes in and actually kind of looks kind of similar to the fan comic. So yes, more realistically drawn.
All right.
And the guy actually talks about, I can't remember. There's so many volumes, I can't remember which one it's in. I can't look it up. But he said something like, "Look, I've done a lot of costumes. I think even like he said mentioned some heroes and even some villains. Like I think Green Goblin, he's actually done some stuff for.
Okay.
But he mentioned some people. So we'll ignore characters like Thor because he's not really a costume.
No.
As well as Hulk, of course. That's just torn clothes. But there were a few characters that he mentioned that he did, and then he mentioned how like this new suit he made was like, oh, I've never done something like this.
Well, that's like that guy in Daredevil who does Daredevil's costume. I like that. I mean, I just finished watching Daredevil, the season 2. I mean, it's been a long time. I just missed out on it. But yeah, I finished watching it, and yeah, it just looked amazing. It was just like a nice thing where they were just talking, and
well, it's a nice explanation because, as you said,
just because like how can a blind man be a tailor?
Well, considering all the other stuff he does as a blind man, I think that'd be the least surprising thing. No, but but it's kind of like they kind of make fun of that in the first Spider-Man movie. You see him designing his costume,
right?
And then he shows up with it, and I like it because it really looks like that's what someone who doesn't know how to sew and doesn't have all these materials would do.
Right.
But it's still so unmistakably Spider-Man thanks to the color scheme. But then
white and blue.
I guess, the eyes are white, yeah.
Yeah, so.
But otherwise, after the whole, what's it called, Uncle Ben dying and all that stuff, it just kind of cuts to him.
Spoiler!
So, but then it basically, cuts to him with the proper suit. And we get no explanation to where he got that suddenly.
Right.
And again, not important, we just want to see him in the proper suit.
Exactly.
But this is where those, it's kind of fun having a canon character who does these things.
Mm.
It's kind of like, did you ever watch Sakura Card Captor?
Yes, I did.
It's a really good anime. And what's called? They kind of basically have that, they kind of make fun of that there too by actually having Tomoyo, I think her name was, providing the magical girl dresses for her. Just because she loves filming her in them. Which now thinking back, was that a sexual thing or either way?
Well, okay, I have definitely not watched enough Sakura Card Captor to remember this. I mean, I think I just watched a couple of episodes when they came on. I see you were very into it.
Oh, so they're showing it in Chile. So, and they're showing the proper one, not the card captors where they cut half the episodes because they couldn't have like a female lead. Yeah, they re-edited it. So, Xiao the boy?
Yeah.
So they basically re-edited so it was more like of a team-up thing and had him be kind of like their co-protagonists.
Holy crap. That did they just do that in Chile or
no, that was in
America?
That was in America. In Chile, they don't care, because I think for them it was just, it's very cheap to like import from Japan and then just dub.
Yeah.
So there's like, they were like never censored to what I could tell. So which was always the cool thing, because then you got to see all these like violent animes being shown like on daytime TV.
So you watched the American version in Chile?
No. I watched the normal one, but I then saw some of it when I moved to the States.
Oh wow! Because I watched I must have watched the American one then. Because I saw it when I watched it in England. I think I saw it. And then I must have seen it a couple of times when I was in Germany still. So then I got the full Japanese version then here in Germany. But yeah, either way.
Hardcast, where we discuss DC, Marvel, and anime, and every so often some Valiant.
Very true. Well, how about we get back to our Valiant and wrap it up so that we can finish up the episode.
Yep.
Are there any more questions that you have about this volume?
Well, I've got to say, we got a lot of new characters here. Any characters that you particularly liked? A favorite or one you'd like to see more of?
I don't know. I really liked, what's his name? Superstar. But then again, just because he was like he was just this lead character. He was he was just the pretty boy, who then sacrificed himself for the good of everyone. I really liked him. And I also liked the old guy, the commander, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Palmer.
Yeah, Palmer. I like him too. I mean...
Of course, he was from the previous Harbinger War.
Yeah, from the 90s as well, right?
Well, yeah, no, but he was in the comics, you know, in the Harbinger
Yeah.
Wars.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah. No, I like it. I mean, I kind of like not Lifeline,
Flatline.
Flatline. Kind of like her too.
Well, again, kind of interesting seeing a character in this like combat scenario with an oxygen tank.
Exactly. And I also really like the Lifeline woman as well. Can't remember what her name is.
I can't remember either. So, but yeah, like it's a nice kind of like support character.
Yeah, Miss Jardine. I mean, I don't know what her first name is, but yeah, Miss Jardine.
So you're not on a first name basis with her yet, Chris.
No, I'm not. I wish I would though.
I'm more of a Granite kind of guy myself. Then in that case.
Oh, you like Granite, huh?
So, well, you know,
I don't know why I said it like that, but
well, you know, considering that everything's paid off, you know, I'd love to be her sugar. Well, then she'd be my sugar mama. So, and I'd just hang out.
no, I wasn't meaning like in a sexual way, dude.
No, but you know,
You always take it there. You always take it there. I mean, sure, I'd love to be on a first name basis, if you know what I mean, with that lovely lady. I'm still trying to find Carol. Her name is Carol.
Cheryl?
Now we're on a first name bear. Carol.
Cheryl?
Carol.
Yeah, it's an archer.
I know. That was.
Oh, you
ruined it.
Are you trying to do a Lana thing?
No, Jesus. Come on. All right, let's continue. We're not.
So, no, but my favorite character that I really liked just how it was set up was a disciple.
Right. The
Christian guy.
guy.
Nobody else loved that. You know, they're escaping from, Harbinger Foundation. They're confronted by a Psyot whose power is to put, crippling fear in everyone around them. Everyone, is basically in this, disposed. No one can do anything.
Wait, that was his power?
Yeah.
I did not pick up on that.
Yeah, that was that guy who's called Panic. That was his name, the Psyot, the user, the egg breaker.
Right. I thought it was
That he disabled powers, or?
Yeah, I thought he just disabled the powers, or he kind of like, because he talked about gravity or something like that.
Yeah, but he got them.
Oh no, yeah.
He put fear into them, and that made Palmer, when he was, flying with Bloodshot, it made like, oh my god, we're not supposed to fly, Jesus! So like, what? And Bloodshot's unaffected by it.
Yeah, but see, that's what I mean is just like, I didn't get that at all. I was really confused at this point because I was just like, why? Wait, what? Who's saying that? Because at first I thought it was like Bloodshot who was kind of coming to terms with that. Like he was like waking up, and then he was like, "Wait, what are you guys doing in the air?" Like, "Oh my god, we're so high. What are you guys doing?" And then like human beings can't do this and stuff like that. And but yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone no one ever said that it was.
Well, I think it comes up in the little like a box at the introduction.
Shit. Okay, I see it now. I did not read that little box 'cause I didn't. I no, because I didn't. Not that I skipped it or anything like that, but I thought it was like these, because on the top on the same page it says Lifeline Command and Control in the same font. So I thought it was just another like location or something like that to like locate back, and I didn't even read it. I was looking at him, and then I just skipped to the next page. But this is what I mean, is that why put it down there? Put it up on top somewhere, or make it look like the stuff that Archer has. Or I mean, obviously you can't just do it like that. But I did not get that he was physically inducing paralyzing fear in others. I didn't get that. Because I was reading his speech, and I was just like, I guess I don't know if this is my fault. I mean, it probably is my fault. But
and it's hard to tell because I know what you mean in terms of when you're like making like a piece of media. You're always trying to make sure that it's okay. Is it understandable for anyone now? In terms of,
is it foolproof?
Yeah, and of course nothing is foolproof. We underestimate the power of fools.
Right.
But that's what I mean. Like there's certain points where okay, no, this is fine. If you miss this, it's because you just missed it.
Right. No, I was just wondering because everyone was scared, so I thought that because they looked scared, but I thought they were just scared because a Psyot had appeared. with some sort of power and just had pulled them down. They were confused and scared. I didn't think about that. And with Palmer near the, I mean, I didn't really see him that scared in that sense, but he was about to fall to his death. So I thought, well, obviously he's going to look a little bit scared. So I didn't even think about it at all. I thought he had something to do with gravity or with like, I don't know. I mean, I just kept on reading, and then the brain flew out of the other guy. And
No, yeah, that was great.
yeah, it was fun. Real fun.
So, but I just like that factor with Disciple there, and that his, his love of Jesus, like Jesus gave him strength to overpower, this superpower.
Right, the sphere,
Yeah, sure, he used a very, what's called, normal weapon, a gun. But it was just something...
but still, it was effective.
Yeah, no, yes, yeah, it was just found it so interesting, like, and one thing I like, because I'm not a religious person, but I do find religion interesting.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I just kind of like the idea here that he wasn't really, except for some comments from the other guys, he wasn't really downplayed or made to look like an idiot for being religious. So,
Exactly.
It's very common.
It's just like with the Book of Mormon kind of thing. You can make fun of it, or whatever, but you can still show them as
people.
As people, and they have their strengths and their weaknesses too.
Exactly, and it also kind of shows a strength, where you do get strength from religion. This sense of faith,
exactly.
And I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting, like what he provided the team. I don't know, it's just such a great scene. When I reread it, I was like, Jesus, give me strength, like bam.
Right, but even that decision there, like, no, not lifelink, Jesus, give me strength.
Exactly. So Jesus is the real lifeline. So, but that's one thing I really liked with this book too. I mean, in a sense, we dumped a lot of characters, but they're all very interesting. The short amount we see them.
Exactly. Yeah, I really like them.
So, and that actually brings me up then. I just got like 2 more questions, but this one will be pretty quick, I think.
All right, you have 6 minutes.
Nah, I'll have to do some more. But
no.
But because they kind of show off, Kosal, recruiting all these people.
Yes.
And then Palmer's like chewing him out for basically, taking these people and putting them into these suicide missions. But
yes.
But do you agree with Kosal or Palmer? Because, because Kosal makes very good points, I feel, in terms of, like with Vagabond, we probably elongated his life.
Right.
And these people are all for it, and we're paying their families and doing all this stuff.
So do you mean all of them or just the newest 3?
Well, for all of them in that sense. Like,
well, no, I totally agree with Kosal. I mean, he was, again, that's what I think is interesting. I mean, if you're upfront with people, you can do anything you want. I mean, that's the same thing. Like, the only difference between boxing and, like,
assault.
A crime, assault is a signed contract. And that's what I mean is that, if both parties are aware of what's going to happen and what danger they're putting themselves into, then that's fine. I mean, again, isn't this basically the same thing like going into the military?
Exactly.
I mean,
you have a chance of dying.
Yeah, I mean, you're also, you have a very high chance of dying. I mean, sure, you don't have an implant in your brain that we know of, but you have a very high risk of dying. And it's basically saying that, you're going to go somewhere and you could come back alive. And you could also, I mean, just like they were saying here, you might, be sick or what was it? Say something about when you're in old age, you might have difficulties. You might get sick when you're in old age.
Well, I think they use like American football players as an example, because that's something.
They did, yeah.
Because that's something that has come up, with brain damage in later years.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is that it's like they know what they're getting themselves into. So if they're free to make their decision, I mean, obviously, if they then, if we find out that there was some sort of mind altering something that they did before they decided, so they weren't, so to speak, in sound mind when they gave their verbal contract, then that would be a problem. But it seems that everyone's just completely comfortable with doing it, and even they leave them some freedom. I mean, like when Granite said that she wanted to go home to see her kids. I mean, sure, there was an immediate suspicion, like, well, is she going to run away? But they let her go. She was like, yeah, sure, go see your family. If you can be ready to deploy in half an hour, fine. And I like that. I do like the way that they did that. So I'm totally with Kazak.
Kosol.
Kosol.
Or however pronounce it, Kosol.
Yeah, that guy.
All right. Yeah, no, again, I agree as well. It's, I guess, just the sense of they probably not fully aware of what they'll be facing, in terms of fighting psyops and stuff like that. Possibly, like, very awful deaths. I mean, just like with Maniac getting his, like, brain pulled out of his head, just by a pure thought.
Yeah, but they don't seem too shaken up about it. I mean, it was just the one guy who killed, who killed the Psyod, who had a problem afterwards. Like when they were sitting together, there was like nothing else. I mean, they weren't like devastated by what they were doing or what they saw. They were just like, yeah, cool, let's go again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm totally for it. It was a good thing.
Yeah, and also it allows for, because they can't be too picky, and because they had to make a test first to see like if someone's eligible. Because
Right.
I'm guessing it then is like it's a 10% thing or something of the human population, maybe less.
Right.
But I like the idea of them not being picky, and then we get interesting characters like these.
Wait, are you saying that I couldn't become a member of hardcore? There's a chance that there's a 90% chance that I couldn't?
Yeah.
Oh no. Now I don't like them as much.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Still like them pretty much.
No, but I got what you meant with that before as well. It's one of those things where anyone could be, kind of like with the Iron Man thing. As long as you have the suit, you can do it. You don't need to have. I mean, sure, it's science fiction, but well, someday probably something similar.
Right.
But I just like the characters. Like, I don't know. I've always liked kind of like a group of quote unquote losers.
Yeah.
It's because, first of all, they're immediately underdogs, and that's always appealing. But also just kind of nice seeing them kind of get a leg up in a sense, especially against more elite opponents.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I'm having trouble thinking of some good examples, but like that anime Planets, for example. So I like how the main team there, they're the garbage men collectors of space.
Right.
So everyone else looks down on them, but they do such a good job. They take it seriously, and then every so often they'll meet people who actually do appreciate their efforts, and I don't know, it's nice. So, but I just like that, losers doing cool things in a sense.
Yeah.
All right, but then the last thing, we have another issue 0. So a Bloodshot, and we get this one at the end of the volume instead of the start.
Yep.
So what do you think of this? I mean, it's really, it's kind of like some world building, some like kind of backstory about not the character really, since it's not his personality, but the whole process of the nanites and the way the memories work.
All right, I'm going to have to be completely honest with you. I did not read it all the way.
Oh, you didn't finish that?
No. I didn't even. Well, here's what happened. I was reading it on my Kindle because it's more comfortable to read, and I couldn't read it.
What happened?
The font is too small.
Really?
The font is so like weird. It's so, because it's not the normal kind of a comic font that's thick and easy to read.
Oh yeah, no, it's like a little fake cursive because it's the
it's a fake cursive. Yeah, it's that like looks like a diary, like a handwritten thing.
Yeah,
and so I started zooming in, and there was so much of this that I was like, oh god. And so I kind of just looked at the pictures and kept going. And then I actually when I got onto my computer, I opened up the PDF on my computer again. And I looked at it, and it was it was the same. I can't look at it. I can't look a full page and read the text.
Oh, really?
It's crazy. I cannot read the text from like a full page view. So I would always have to zoom in and move around, and that was just too much effort. And I was already like 10 minutes late for the recording. So I was like, you know what? He probably won't ask about it. So let's just give it.
Oh, you don't know me well enough, Chris.
Yeah, because last time we never really talked about the issue 0. We just kind of mentioned it real quick and skipped it. The only thing that I was surprised about is that Bloodshot's black.
Well, is he?
I don't know, is he?
I don't know. You'll see in later volumes. I always liked the idea of him being black. So but maybe that's because of the contrast with the skin then.
Right.
So, but because we obviously get to see people who aren't the original Bloodshot or the current Bloodshot. You know,
Right,
through the
right.
montage, we see like the Vietnam one who, you know, I'm assuming from the fro that he's black
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then we're assuming then that the Bloodshot that kills the scientist is the one who, you know, was killing all those Middle Eastern people.
Right. Right.
But then later volumes, like you remember the Valiant, you know, when he loses his nanites.
Right. Yeah. I
And
totally
he's
forgot
white,
about
and he's
that.
white there.
Right.
So it's one of those things. Like to me, not trying to get into like what's called like a virtue
He's- he-
signaling,
He's just racially ambiguous. Ambiguous.
ambiguous. I has to be a little darker skinned for that because that's always it has to be like The Rock.
Right.
It's like The Rock's great because everyone can relate to him. For white people,
Wow.
he's tan. For black people, he's black. So for Polynesian people, he's
Wow.
Polynesian.
Wow.
No, but it's true. People have written articles about this due to about like why he has such a big success in like overseas markets.
Wow.
Yeah, I know it's
That's
very
like-
awful, but it's true.
That's such a way to just kind of diminish all the work he's done.
It helps that he's a good actor.
Yeah, he's a good, especially for an ex-wrestler, you know. I mean,
Dude, those are the best actors.
yeah, right. No, but that's like what I mean is like, you know, way to just kind of throw away all his work from the last years that he's done to become like an actual, you know, celebrity and a good actor and all that stuff, and be like, it's just because of his skin color, because everyone can relate to him. That's the only reason why he's, you know, popular.
Again, you know, that's you know, that wasn't my like words. It's just a discussion that's been brought up why it works so well outside in like outside markets.
Yeah, no.
So, but either way, so, but yeah, no, I don't know. I liked it enough. It kind of gave some little more information about. I like the history aspect more of it. You know, just kind of
Yeah.
nice. Like I like I can't remember which war it was. It was the one before the Vietnam one. But you saw that he had to have like this tank and like this pack on his back, which I'm assuming provided the nanites.
Which one are you talking about?
So in issue 0, it's like,
Yeah, I know, but I'm looking.
yeah, it's like right before the Vietnam.
That tank. It's just a picture of it, just like a.
Yeah, you know, just like quick, you know, glimpses. But I always like things like that where you get to see kind of, especially with technology. So I like it when people come up with like new, old, fake technology.
Right. So like, how would this look?
Exactly.
In the 1970s. Like, how would the nanites look in 1970s?
Exactly. And the whole idea.
Which they also mentioned that in the Bloodshot and in the volume, with the whole thing that that Palmer has the old technology in his head.
Exactly, like the old radiated, like the old like cell
Yeah.
phone technology with the radiation and stuff like that.
Exactly, which I think is pretty fun.
But exactly those kinds of things I like, because it's one of the reasons, you know, let's go. Maybe this will get some people talking as well, you know. I'm one of the few people who like the new Ghostbusters. But
Right.
they had a nice thing in that movie where they actually showed a transition of them improving on those proton packs.
Okay.
Like they have a prototype of it where they actually have to have it like on a little carriage because it's too large and bulky. So to like push it, and then they have like the what's called like the gun part of it, you know, attached to it, and you know it gets very cumbersome, and they kind of like fail at their first like attempt at it, and then they kind of improve it. They take what they learned, and then they figure out a way to make it small enough to be like a pack. I like
that movie got nominated for a Razzie.
Yeah, you know, Razzie just for me are just fun. So
Yeah. Worst screenplay.
yeah, again, I disagree, but not that it was great, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Oh well.
But I just like that kind of stuff where you see a transition of technology where you get to decide it, and if it also shows research done by the writers and artists in terms of like, okay, what did technology look at this time?
Right.
I think it's the reason why a lot of people do like steampunk a bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean, sure, some will get a little bit exaggerated, but it's the idea of, okay, if we kind of had an understanding of modern technology, how could we recreate it with Steam? And I think that's where kind of like the fun comes from it.
Right. Yeah.
But all right, I think that was about it in terms of questions. As per usual, we kind of went back and forth a bit due to discussion.
Yeah.
But we did answer everything that I had wanted to discuss. Any last comments on the Bloodshot hardcore?
Not really. I mean, I liked this this volume. I mean, not my favorite of all time. I don't know if I could find one that is my favorite of all time yet. But it was definitely fun, and got really into the Valiant universe now. I'm kind of excited to see what comes next and continue on reading more and more about this universe.
All right.
Yeah, so once again, fuck you, Humphrey.
Well,
Thank you for doing this to me.
Well, this took a long time, so it was a long conversion therapy.
It was very long. But you finally did it.
Yay. Well, that was the 19th episode of Hardcast, detailing Bloodshot Volume 4. For more content from me and Chris, follow us on Twitter at Humphrey_Erm and at Christian D. Claus. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or listen to us directly on valianthardcast.podbean.com. Catch us later for our next episode, discussing Eternal Warrior Volume 1, Sword of the Wild, coming soon to Wii U and Nintendo Switch.
Holy shit, Eternal Warrior.
Yeah,